Okay, part two of the Combinatorics creating a part lesson. It's been a while, but I want to get back to it. And our progression that we were writing to was E minor, C, G, and D. Kind of a standard pop progression in the key of G, or you can think of it as kind of being in the key of E minor, but basically it's the 6 chord, the 4 chord, the 1 chord, and the 5 chord. Okay? And we were using shapes based in the position, basically second position. We were using it kind of this E minor shape. You can think of this one. We were using this C shape, which is very common, this G shape, which is very common, and this D shape, which is not as common, to create the part. One thing I want to talk about today is maybe using some open strings in your playing on this. And so one thing I could do is I could just take the notes only, since the song's in G string will work on most of the chords, and even on the 1 chord it doesn't. If we look at the notes in the 4 chords, in E minor it's E, G, B, E, G, B, and in C it's C, E, G, in G it's G, B, D, and D it's D, F sharp, A. So the only chord of the 4 that doesn't have a G in it is the D chord. So, but even there we can play the G note and it'll sound kind of cool. So that'll give you some continuity in your playing. We can do several different things. Let me just start with this. Let's do this triad we did before with the E minor chord, which is on the 4th string, starting on the 4th string, 5th fret, 3rd fret. I'm sorry, 5th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret. Okay, but we're going to open up the G string. See that? Now that works over both the E minor and the C chord, because remember the C chord was here, 5, 5, 5, little triad there. So we got. Now we could go to this for the G chord. Remember, we just got, this is the G, little G triad, G, B, D, 5th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret, and we just open up that G string. So we got that ringing out. Okay? And that works over the G chord. And then if we want, we got this D shape that we were using before, which is 4, 2, 3, all again on the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string. But we can open that up and put the D in the bass figure. And again, the bass part could be played by a bass player or a synth or something. It doesn't necessarily have to be guitar. So here's what it would sound like by itself. Now, I've just got a dry guitar there. It's just a guitar and this little $100 Vox amp back there. I'm putting a little wiggle on it just to kind of give it a little chorusy effect. Okay? You should be good at that. You should be good at getting a little vibrato on your fingers. You know, violinists are always really good at it. Now, with the bass line in there, okay, I'm going to put an E in the bass, then C, and then G, and then D. It's going to sound like this. C. Okay. Another thing we could do is we could just take maybe the top 2, or just the 2nd and 3rd string, and so we have this, right? But we could bring in the G string by pulling off to it, or maybe just going. Here's the E minor. See, now we got a pulse going. We got down, bam, 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 bam. You know, which we also would have with bum, bum, bum. When I'm hitting the lowest note is when I hear that pulse. That creates kind of a cool thing. We could do a pull-off thing. So we just did the pull-off thing. Let's go. We do something like that where we pull off backwards, do an arpeggio thing and pull off. Something like that, maybe. All right. So getting the G string in there, we could do. I could do something on the bottom, on the 5th and the 4th string. So if I do the E minor shape here, to the C. Okay, I'm playing 3 and 5 to the G, which is just the fourth, both 5th fret. Okay, on the 5th string and 4th string, and then resolve that down to the F sharp there, so we have 5th fret and 4th fret. These are all these notes are on the 5th string and the 4th string. So again, E minor. And all those notes already have a G on top, except for the last chord, the D chord. But with the G string ringing out, we got it. That's where it gets interesting, is on the 5 chord. But now we can have some fun with it. Let me take that. I'm just kind of giving you insight on how I think. So I might build a part by starting at one place and go, okay, I'm going to change one thing, and then I get to that place, and now this is the new part, but I'm like, still, no, not quite. I'm going to change another thing. So we moved. Basically, we moved the top note down an octave and came up with this voicing, kind of, basically. And we added the G string in there. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to maybe go down to the F sharp within the 8th note. So like, all the while playing the G string. Or I can just arpeggiate that. Again, there's a bass player playing in there. And for this one. Now I could go the opposite way. I could take the G string and make that the lowest note and go above that. So I could do E minor here. C is going to be the same. So it's a little boring. And then go to the G chord. And I could go down here to the D chord. And that's cool. So with there's the E minor. So with the bass note, it would sound like this. C. That G string is really haunting. Now, if you want to get rid of that G string on the D chord, you totally can. If it's too weird, if somebody's head in the band is going, huh? What's that sound? Then you might want to resolve that and get rid of it. Okay? So it would sound more like this. Like. Because you can have too much of a good thing. That G string could become like a drone that just drills a hole in the listener's ear and the head. You don't want to do that. You want to create music that's ultimately beautiful and listenable and wants to be, you want to listen to. So you don't want to overdo something. But I can take this and go up. Now I could go up here and go to different voices. I could play E minor here, and then C here. I could think of G as being here. Okay, this is the C shape moved up to G. Okay, I'm at the 7th fret, and then play maybe D like this. Okay. Which is, I'm making a G shape. I don't know if you can see that. Right there. All right. So that would be with the G string on the bottom of this. I would have like something like this. I could go down to D here. All right. You can start adding other notes to things to just kind of experiment. You might stumble across something that's really really cool. It just as an accident. I mean, most of my good ideas are all accidental. I don't think that. I don't necessarily think they come across. I come about them in a logical sense. Sometimes my finger misses something. I go, wait, what was that? Oh, that was cool. How did I do that? Oftentimes, and one thing I suggest when you're writing or when you're trying to come up with a part, set up your DAW, your digital audio workstation, whether it's your Logic or Pro Tools or if you're using even GarageBand. Set that up so that it's just recording you while you're coming up with part ideas. Okay, and that way, if you come up with something, you go, oh shoot, I like that thing I did 2 seconds ago. What was that? And you can't remember it. You can always roll back the tape and listen to it. That's always a good suggestion. In fact, I do that when I'm writing with someone. I'll just roll a tape, and we're just sitting there writing. And we may have some brilliant idea that just kind of flies out of us, and we don't even realize. It's like, oh wait, that was really cool. Let's go back and save that. And so I'll do that. And I'll cut that little piece out of the file. I'll duplicate it and put it in a new place. So I'm like, this is the stuff that kind of caught my ear or that I really like. I put it in on a separate track and then mute that track so it's just there. I know it's there, so I can always find it easier rather than having to listen to 30 minutes of recorded banter between two songwriters. Okay, so again, all of this stuff sounds cool when you put delays on it. All these kind of ideas sound cool when you put reverb on it. You get that Coldplay thing going. So, and the other thing I didn't really talk about was in the key of G. There's also a B, so we could have taken the B string and worked it in there somewhere, or the D string is also in all three of those. And it's in the key of G. The B string is in 2 of the 4 chords, the E minor chord and the G chord. Okay, for the C chord it would be a major 7th, so that would be beautiful. In the D chord it would be a 6th, and I like 6ths a lot. I use 6ths all the time. So, like that Beaver trick, that's a 6th. That's a 6th. So I put 2 6ths in that song. So like for example, let's do that. I'm going to play. So the B string is here. I'm going to go back to our original position, and I'm going to play E minor. We're going to use these 2 shapes. We're going to keep the B string open. So this is going to be on the 3rd string and on the 1st string. So 4th fret and 3rd fret. And one thing you could do, because we're bringing in the open strings, this is a great trick, is that make the open string, let's say you're doing 8/8 notes, make the open string the last of the 8/8 notes, and that gives you an 1/8 note's worth of time, depending on the tempo. If it's a fast song, it's not going to be much time, but if it's a moderate tempo tune, you'll have plenty of time to get to that next shape. And so if you want to move around a little bit more, you can do that. So that last note was the open B string, and if I want to go E minor, it's kind of weird. And then what was the next one? G. Okay. I mean, there's so many things. That's the whole point of this series is that almost every time you figure something out, you realize, oh, I could do one little change, and if you do that change to every one of the voicings, then you've got a whole new variation. Like I talked about before, we could add the seconds. In fact, I'll do a video. The next video I'll talk about adding seconds to chords, and we'll add seconds to all of these chords in different places. And then what we want to do is not do that every time. So maybe you add the second on the first chord and the second chord, or the first chord and the third chord, or the second chord and the fourth chord, something like that. And that way you've got some variation, but not too much variation. You don't use the same trick on every chord, so it gets a little predictable, a little boring, or even a little too weird sometimes. Okay? I hope this helps. God bless you guys. I'll talk to you soon.